Alright guys, it's time to finish up this project. We're about to make the calculate button work. Now, I'm going to walk you through in words what we're going to do with this calculate button. What it's going to do is take and save each of the Q strings, alright, because remember, if you use C++ before, you're probably used to strings, okay? If it's the C string or the actual string class, these are called QStrings, okay? The actual text itself is saved as a QString object. So we want to take the QString inside of the length LE, width LE, height LE, and volume, I'm sorry, not volume, but the length, width, and height LE, and we want them to become numbers, actual integers that we can multiply. Alright, and we'll save that inside of an integer. Alright, and that integer will then be converted into a QString and saved into volume. Alright, so it's from QString to integer so that we can do our math, and then that result from integer to QString so that we can display it inside volume. Alright, but just in case volume has garbage in it, right before we output, we're going to make volume call another clear, okay? And we can do that as well. Now the thing you might be asking is, well, how do we start setting this up? Well, the thing is this, you want to start with what caused the event. Of course, as the program's running, a person can click on a text field and start typing in numbers at any given time. We don't have to do anything there. It's when they click that calculate button that we want it to start taking the data, crunching the numbers, and spitting out the result. And then a person can push clear all and do it all as many times as they want. So what we do is we right click on an object and we get this context menu. Alright, you can change the object name or change the text on the object. If you like getting to them from this way, that's a good way to do it. Alright, but we're caring about go to slot. Now you've seen the word slot before, okay, in the signal and slots editor. The slot calls these functions, but when we do it here, it's in response to a certain signal being sent from something else. In this case, we have no signal, we're just going straight to the slot. Alright, so we pick go to slot, and we get all of the slots that this type of object has. Now, let's say we want to look at what some of these might do. Look, we have pressed and released. What if while someone was holding down the click, we wanted the button to look or do something differently? That'd be interesting, right? And when they released it, it did something. This is actually good in some of the old video games where, you want it when you release the button for something to happen instead of when you pressed it, the thing just happening. It helps some of the timing. But this isn't a game, of course. This is just a GUI. In this case, we care about clicked. Once again, this is when we click it, we wanted something to happen. And we want calculate to happen. Immediately, we get moved right over to main window.cpp, where we're supposed to just start typing in code to make the magic happen. But we don't need to move this quickly yet. There's some things we need prerequisite, okay? Now, you notice that this is a void function. It doesn't return a value, which means we can't say something is equal to on calc button clicked. On calc button click is going to just make some things happen and then end. And it comes from the main window class. So this is the on calc button clicked function from the main window class. So let's look at the main window class definition. Look at that. They've added a private slots. Alright, when we went to slots just then and chose clicked, we got a new function called void on calc button clicked. Alright, so what we're going to do is exactly what I said. So let's head back to main window.cpp. We want to make some QStrings that hold the items, okay, that are in those text fields. So what are we going to need? Well, we're going to need to include QString. So it's actually better if we go to main window.h for now. Alright, since this is the top of the program, alright, and in C++, you can't use something until it's been defined, right? Well, since main.cpp includes, okay, main window.h, that means main window.h is on top of it, okay? So let's put it at the head of the program. That's how I like to do things. If you don't want to, you can. Just make sure that before you use any QString objects in the code, that you've pound included QString. Okay. I hit enter because they found it in time. Yeah, I like that. Alright, so now we'll go back to main window.cpp and we're able to make QString objects. And we're going to make 3 QString objects: width, length, and height. Okay? And they will equal what's in the text fields. Then we're going to make an integer, and we're going to call it like cubic or something like that. Since we're getting a cubic value, you know, for multiplying 3 lengths, why not use the word cubic? So this integer cubic is going to equal all of those multiplied as integers, okay? And then that integer is going to be turned into a string, a QString, and shoved into the volumeLE text field. So let's declare our QString items. QString. Oh, they corrected me. It was a capital S. So we have at first the QString. Let's go with length first. QString length is equal to. Now, how do we access those items? Okay. How do we access this text, that text, this text? How do we access that? Well, this whole thing is the main window object. Alright? And this LE is a piece of the main window object. And luckily for us, a pointer to the main window object was made here. Alright, in main window.h we have a pointer that in main window.cpp got set up, and it was pointing to a new main window. So we'll use UI and we will dereference it to get to that main window, and we get all of those objects. Okay? And we want what's in length LE. Length LE is right here. We don't want the object. We want to dereference it and get to one of length LE's functions, which is text. Alright, and text returns a QString object with the text inside it. And since we are saying one QString object equals another QString object, length is going to equal the text inside of length LE. Alright, and the next one is width. So width is equal to UI dereferenced width LE dereferenced to the text. And finally, height is equal to UI dereferenced width LE. I really should have used the autocomplete there. And we're going to run its text. So from here on out, you know that text boxes have the ability, at least the line edit text box, has the ability to use a text function that will return its entire QString. So you can save it inside of a QString object. Alright? So now we're going to make that integer we were talking about, the int called cubic. Now, lucky for us, QString objects have a function. All right, they have a member function called to, and this to function can be int or double or float or whatever data type you want, even ASCII. Okay, and it'll basically return your string as that particular type. It'll translate it into that type. So cubic is going to equal, okay, and I'm going to use parentheses so that it's easier to see that I'm multiplying 3 distinct items. And we're going to get the length, alright, LENGTH. We just declared length right there, alright, and we're going to use a dot, and we go to 2, and we see all the 2's here, there's more, and we go to int. It's a function, and at that moment, length.toInt is actually an integer value that is the length itself. And we're going to multiply that times the width. Same deal. Width.toInt times, and finally height, HEIGHT dot to int, and semicolon. So now this green line is just saying we've not used it yet. Unused variable. So now what do we need to do? Now this is interesting. There's a function inside of QString. Alright, it's a static function, which means you don't actually have to have one of the objects declared to use it. You can use it by itself so long as you qualify that it's coming from the QString class itself. So what we're going to do is say that the volumeLE is going to have its set text. It's going to have its set text function called, and the parameter is going to be a QString item. Okay, so what we're going to do is return a QString item with the number function. Okay, and the number function returns a QString of an integer or whatever data type it is, and it'll translate that into a QString object so that the set text will work. You'll see how it looks and then it'll make sense. So what we'll do is we'll say that UI volume LE, okay, and we'll use, I even tried to put a dot there and it said, oh no, you need to use an arrow. Alright, and we hit SET T. Alright, so they go, oh, you mean one of these? Yes, I mean set text. And it says void set text needs a QString object. Okay? And it won't change that QString object. But we're not about to pass it a QString object because cubic, which we want inside volumeLE, is an integer. So we'll do exactly what I was talking about. Inside here, we're going to say from QString, the